Emily, how many times do I have to say it? I don't like you. I'm not going to marry you. And I'm definitely not going away with you. If you keep pushing me, I'll enlist in the army and never come back for the rest of my life. Inside the small, thatched house decorated with a big red wedding symbol, 17-year-old Jason stood in the farthest corner from the bed, glaring at me with cold disgust in his eyes, as if I were some filthy thing he couldn't shake off. Boom! It was like a muffled thunderclap exploded in my head. I had been reborn. The realization hit me like a bucket of ice water in the dead of winter. One moment, I had been lying on a cold, iron-framed bed in a county psychiatric hospital. My body so weak I couldn't even lift a finger, my stomach cramping from 3 days without food. The next moment, I was here, standing in the very room where, in my past life, I had naively believed my happiest day was about to begin. I looked down at my hands. Smooth. Young. The calluses were there, yes, but not the deep, cracked wounds that decades of hard labor had carved into my skin. My clothes were patched, but they were clean. My hair, though frizzy from those stubborn natural curls, was still dark and thick. I was 17 years old again. And Jason Parker, the boy I had wasted an entire lifetime loving, was looking at me like I was a disease he desperately wanted to cure. Let me tell you about my first life. I came to this village with my parents when I was 9 years old, fleeing a famine that had turned our homeland into a barren wasteland of dried-up rivers and hollow-eyed ghosts. We had nothing. My father's legs swelled from malnutrition. My mother's milk dried up years ago, but she still tried to nurse me, as if her empty breasts could somehow conjure sustenance from sheer will. They both died within 6 months of our arrival. I remember kneeling beside their graves, 2 fresh mounds of dirt with makeshift wooden markers, feeling utterly alone in a world that had no room for orphaned girls. The villagers whispered about me as I passed. Bad luck. A starving mouth with no hands to feed it. Someone else's problem. Then Martha Parker took me in. Martha was not a kind woman, by any conventional measure. She was a widow, her husband lost to the same famine that had claimed my parents. She had a 5-year-old son named Jason, and a body so frail that the slightest cold wind seemed capable of knocking her over. The village doctors had given her maybe 10 years, if she was lucky. She didn't take me in out of compassion. She took me in because she needed someone to raise her son after she was gone. I understood this even at 9 years old. Children of famine learn to see the world in terms of transactions, because kindness is a luxury that starving people cannot afford. So I worked. I scrubbed floors. I fetched water from the well. I learned to cook, to sew, to tend the vegetable patch, to feed the chickens and the single pig that represented our family's entire savings. And I took care of little Jason. Oh, that boy. In those early years, he was my everything. He had round cheeks and curious eyes, and a laugh that could chase away the darkest thoughts. He followed me everywhere, his small hand clutching my skirt, calling me Sister Emily in that precious, lisping way of his. Emily, Emily, look what I found. Emily, can you braid my hair like yours? Emily, I had a nightmare. Can I sleep in your bed? I loved him. How could I not? He was the only warmth in a world that had shown me nothing but cold. I washed his face every morning and his feet every night. I held him in my arms and sang him songs that my own mother used to sing to me. I protected him from the older boys who tried to push him around, and when he was sick, I stayed up all night pressing cool cloths to his forehead. There was one memory that I carried with me through all the dark years that followed. Jason was 6, and some village boys had convinced me to play house with them. I was 13, old enough to know better, but young enough to still crave the simple joy of pretend. One of the boys, a gangly 12-year-old named Liu, volunteered to be my groom. Jason came running up to us, his face red with fury. Without a word, he grabbed Liu's arm and bit down hard. Liu screamed. The other boys scattered. And Jason stood there, tears streaming down his face, shouting at the top of his lungs, "She's my wife. She's mine. Nobody else gets to pretend." I scooped him up and held him close, laughing even as I scolded him for biting. His little arms wrapped around my neck so tightly I could barely breathe. "I love you, Emily," he whispered into my hair. "I'm going to marry you when I grow up." For real, in that moment, I believed him. I believed that we would grow old together, that childhood sweethearts could become husband and wife, that love, pure and simple and hard-won, was enough to build a life upon. I was wrong. Everything changed when Jason started middle school. That was when he met Claire Mitchell. Claire's parents were both officials assigned to the commune by the county's cultural committee. They were city people, sophisticated and well-connected, and they brought with them a daughter who seemed to have stepped out of a magazine. Claire wore neatly pressed jackets and matching trousers, not the patched-up hand-me-downs that the rest of us wore. Her hair was always styled in a high, sleek ponytail that swung behind her like a silk ribbon. She spoke Mandarin without a trace of accent, her words crisp and cultured. The first snow fell on the day Claire Mitchell arrived at the commune middle school. I remember because Jason came home that evening with a strange, dazed look in his eyes. He didn't eat his dinner. He didn't want me to wash his feet. When I asked him what was wrong, he just shook his head and stared at the wall. I didn't understand then what was happening. I was 18 years old, 8 years older than Jason. I had never been to school beyond 3rd grade because Martha had pulled me out to help with the housework. Girls don't need an education, she had said. You need to know how to cook and clean and take care of a husband. That's all, so I stayed home. I worked. I waited for Jason to come back from school each day, my heart lifting at the sound of his footsteps on the path. But gradually, those footsteps stopped hurrying home. Jason began coming back late, his uniform wrinkled, his hair disheveled. He stopped calling me Sister Emily. When the villagers made their usual jokes, there goes Jason's future wife, he would flush dark red and storm away. Once I heard him shouting at one of his friends, "She's not my child bride. Stop saying that. She's just some orphan my mother took in." The words cut deeper than any knife. But I told myself he was just going through a phase. Boys his age were embarrassed by everything. He would come around eventually. He had to. We were meant to be together. Then I saw them together for the first time. I had gone to the commune to buy cooking oil. The state-run restaurant was the only place with a proper roof and glass windows, and as I passed by, I happened to glance inside. There was Jason, sitting across from Claire Mitchell. He was laughing at something she had said, his whole face transformed by a happiness I had never seen on him before. Claire was eating a bowl of noodles with an egg on top, a luxury that would have cost our family 3 days of work points. Jason watched her eat with an expression of pure adoration, as if she were the most precious thing in the world. I stood there for a long moment, the jar of oil heavy in my hands, before I turned and walked away. That night, I made a decision. If Claire was the kind of girl Jason wanted, then I would become that kind of girl. I would learn to speak proper Mandarin. I would fix my hair. I would show Jason that I could be just as good as any city girl. I started by copying the political slogans that Claire recited during the commune's morning broadcasts. I practiced in the pigsty, where nobody could hear me, repeating the words over and over until I thought I had the accent right. But when I finally mustered the courage to speak to Jason in Mandarin, he looked at me like I had grown a second head. "Shut up," he said flatly. "Your accent makes it sound like you're choking on a bone. Just speak the village dialect. At least that's honest." I tried again with my appearance. I had seen Claire wearing a skirt with a high waist and buttons down the front. I spent a week sewing a copy from some old fabric scraps, staying up late by the light of a single oil lamp. I unpicked my braids and combed my curls into a high ponytail, just like hers. When I presented myself to Jason, my heart pounding with nervous hope, he let out a bark of laughter. "Emily, what have you done to yourself?" He gestured at my hair. "With those curls, it looks like you've got a frizzy broom stuck to the back of your head. And that skirt," he shook his head, still laughing. "Just stop. You're embarrassing yourself." And me, I ran to my room and cried until my eyes were swollen shut. But even then, I didn't give up. I couldn't, because what else did I have? My parents were dead. I had no relatives, no friends outside the Parker household, no skills beyond cooking and cleaning and working the fields. If Jason didn't want me, what was left? So I did the only thing I could think of. I went to Martha. "Jason has a girl," I told her, my voice trembling. "Her name is Claire Mitchell. Her parents are officials. Martha's face went through several expressions in rapid succession: surprise, anger, calculation, before settling into hard determination. Official's daughter is she? HMPH. Those types are all show. She wouldn't know how to boil an egg, let alone take care of a man. Don't you worry, Emily. I'll handle this. She did not handle it. What she did was march to the commune middle school and demand a meeting with the principal. She complained that Claire Mitchell was a bad influence on her son, distracting him from his studies and turning him against his family. The principal, who owed favors to Claire's parents, politely suggested that Martha mind her own business. Martha returned home in a rage and announced that the wedding would take place immediately. Jason is 15, I said, shocked. That's too young. In the countryside, 15 is old enough, Martha snapped. And I'm not getting any younger. I want to see my son married before I die. You'll be his wife, Emily. That's the end of it. Jason fought her every step of the way. He shouted. He sulked. He refused to eat. He locked himself in his room. But Martha was a stubborn woman, and she had raised a stubborn son. Eventually, he stopped fighting and simply went cold. A frozen, hateful silence that was somehow worse than all the shouting. The wedding was a small affair. 2 tables of food, a few neighbors as witnesses, a red banner with the double happiness symbol pasted crookedly on the wall. Jason stood beside me, like a man attending his own execution. When it was time to bow to each other, he couldn't even look at me. That night, as we stood in the room that was supposed to be our bridal chamber, he delivered the words that would define the rest of my first life. Emily, how many times do I have to say it? I don't like you. I'm not going to marry you. And I'm definitely not going away with you. If you keep pushing me, I'll enlist in the army and never come back for the rest of my life. Then he grabbed his suitcase and walked out the door. The next morning, I woke up alone. In my past life, I spent the next 25 years as a ghost in the Parker household. After Jason left, Martha turned all her anger and disappointment on me. Useless girl, she would mutter as I scrubbed the floors. Can't even keep your own husband. What good are you? I never defended myself. I believed her. I had failed. I had driven Jason away. It was my fault. So I stayed. Not because I loved Martha. I didn't, not anymore. But because I had nowhere else to go. And because, somewhere deep in my heart, I still hoped that Jason would come back. That he would see how hard I had worked, how loyal I had been, and finally recognize my worth. I worked from dawn until well past dark. I earned work points in the fields alongside the other women, my back aching and my hands bleeding. I cooked 3 meals a day, using the best grains for Martha and subsisting on wild vegetable porridge and boiled sweet potatoes myself. I washed and mended and cleaned and fed the animals. When Martha was sick, which was often, I sat by her bed and fanned her and changed her bedding and pretended not to notice that she had never once thanked me. Meanwhile, Jason was living a different life. I heard about it from the villagers, who loved to gossip. Jason had enlisted in the army with Claire Mitchell. She had joined the cultural performance troupe, they said, while he trained as a soldier. He sent money orders home regularly, but the letters were always addressed to Martha, never to me. I learned from the postman that Jason was using his military stipend to buy Claire pretty clothes and shoes and imported cosmetics from Shanghai. I wore patched-up rags that had been mended so many times, the original fabric was barely visible. Jason and Claire ate special meals at Statron restaurants. I scraped burnt rice from the bottom of the pot and called it dinner. Jason was promoted, again and again, squad leader, platoon leader, company commander. I stayed exactly where I was, a widow without ever having been a wife, an old maid at 25, a relic of a failed marriage that had never truly existed. When Martha finally died, 10 years later than the doctors had predicted, because my careful nursing had somehow kept her alive, I felt nothing. Not sadness, not relief, just a vast, empty numbness that had become my permanent state of being. Jason came home for the funeral. He was 32 years old, tall and straight-backed in his military uniform, his face handsome in a way that made my heart clench with old, foolish longing. He stood beside his mother's grave, his expression unreadable, and when the ceremony was over, he turned to me. "Emily, let's get a divorce. The words hit me like a physical blow. I had served his mother for over a decade. I had worked myself to the bone for a family that was never mine. By every custom of our village, I was his wife in every way that mattered. Why? I screamed, clutching at his arm. Why now? After everything I've done, he pulled away gently but firmly. Emily, I don't love you. How can two people with no feelings for each other spend a lifetime together? He was right. I had spent an entire lifetime loving a man who had never loved me back. I had given him my youth, my strength, my devotion, my hope. And what had I received in return? A cold room, a lifetime of labor, a divorce that made me the laughingstock of the village all over again. I signed the papers without another word. 6 months later, I was dead. The official cause was complications from malnutrition and chronic overwork. But I knew the truth. I had died of a broken heart, not because Jason had left me, but because I had finally realized that I had wasted my entire life loving someone who was never capable of loving me back. And then, somehow, impossibly, I woke up. The present. Jason was still glaring at me from across the room, waiting for my reaction. He expected tears, probably. Or hysterics. In my past life, that night had been the beginning of my descent into servitude and self-loathing. But I was not the same Emily anymore. I raised my head and looked at Jason, really looked at him, for what felt like the first time. He was 17, still a boy, with soft features that would someday sharpen into handsomeness. Right now, he was all awkward angles and performative cruelty, trying to hurt me because he thought I was standing in the way of his happiness with Claire. I felt nothing. No, that wasn't quite right. I felt something, but it wasn't pain or longing or desperation. It was the quiet, steady certainty of a woman who had already lived through this once and refused to make the same mistakes again. Okay, I said. Jason blinked. What? I said okay. I reached up and unpinned the red flower from my chest, the symbol of our unconsummated union, and tossed it onto the bed. You don't want to marry me. I understand. I won't force you. The confusion on his face was almost comical. You're not going to cry. Or run to my mother. I'm not going to do either of those things. I smoothed down my skirt and walked toward the door. But I am going to talk to your mother. You should probably come with me. I found Martha in the main room, laying out bowls for dinner. She looked up as I entered, her expression already sour. She had heard the shouting, of course, and assumed I was coming to complain. Ma'am, I said, keeping my voice steady, Jason doesn't love me. He doesn't want to be my husband. I think we should call off the engagement. The silence that followed was deafening. Martha's spoon clattered onto the table. Jason, who had followed me out of the bedroom, stood frozen in the doorway. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Martha's face contorted with fury. What did you say? I said we should cancel the wedding, I repeated. Jason has made his feelings very clear. He doesn't want to marry me. And frankly, I don't want to marry someone who looks at me the way he does. You, Martha spluttered. After everything I've done for you. Taking you in when you had nothing. Feeding you, clothing you, raising you like my own daughter. And this is how you repay me. It's not about repayment, ma'am. It's about Jason's happiness. I glanced at him. He was staring at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Relief, certainly, but also something else. Confusion, maybe. Or suspicion. If I marry him against his will, he'll resent me forever. He might even run away. Isn't it better to end things now, before that happens? Jason's mother scoffed loudly. So you just want to walk away? After 8 years of living under my roof, eating my food. And what about all the money I spent raising you? I kept my gaze lowered, my fingers twisting the hem of my shirt. Tears welled in my eyes, not from hurt, but from the sheer effort of restraining myself. In my past life, I had believed every word of her criticism. I had truly thought I was a burden, a worthless freeloader who should be grateful for scraps. But I knew better now. I had worked for every bite of food I had eaten in this house. From the age of 9, I had done the work of an adult woman. I had cooked and cleaned, and tended the fields and fed the animals. I had saved this family money on hiring outside help. I had raised Martha's son when she was too sick to do it herself. And yet, here she was, calling me a freeloader. I'll leave, I said quietly. I have nowhere to go, but I'll figure something out. Jason shifted uncomfortably. Whatever he had expected from this confrontation, it wasn't this. He had steeled himself for tears, for pleading, for his mother's inevitable fury. He had not expected me to simply give up. Emily, he said slowly, you don't have to leave. I mean, you can stay here. For now, my mom and we can take care of you. Martha whirled on him. Take care of her? With what money? You're still in school, and I can barely afford to feed the two of us. Mom, don't mom me. You're the one who doesn't want to marry her. Fine, but don't expect me to keep supporting her out of the goodness of my heart. I'm not a charity. I watched them argue, feeling strangely detached. In my past life, this argument had ended with Martha forcing Jason to go through with the wedding anyway, and Jason storming off to the army in defiance. But this time, things were different. This time, I had a plan. Ma'am, I interrupted softly, if you really want Jason to come back, why don't you just marry me off to someone else? Both of them stopped mid-argument and stared at me. What? Martha said. Marry me off to someone else, I repeated. Jason is the most filial son anyone could ask for. I think the real reason he wants to enlist is to get away from me. He has a kind heart. He even offered to let me stay, even though he doesn't want to marry me. But as long as I'm here, he'll feel pressured. He might leave just to avoid seeing me. I paused, letting my words sink in. But if I marry someone else, someone far away, then Jason won't have any reason to stay away. You'll be alone in the house, and with how devoted he is, there's no way he'd leave you by yourself. He'll come home. You'll have your son back. Martha's eyes narrowed. I could see her calculating, weighing the options. On one hand, she had raised me specifically to be Jason's wife. Sending me away meant losing all that investment. On the other hand, if keeping me meant driving her son away for good. And what about the bride price? She asked finally. If I marry you off, I should get something in return. I nodded. Of course, ma'am. Whatever is customary. I saw the flicker of greed in her eyes and knew I had won. The matchmaker arrived the very next day. She was a wizened old woman named Auntie Chen, who had married off half the village. She looked me up and down with a practiced eye, noting my calloused hands, my patched clothes, my serviceable but unremarkable face. Any preferences? She asked. I glanced at Martha, who was hovering nearby, pretending not to listen. Someone far away, I said. The farther, the better. Martha nodded approvingly. She understood my reasoning. The farther I went, the less likely I was to ever come back and cause trouble for her son. Auntie Chen left with her list of requirements and returned 3 days later with a proposal. There's a man named William Song, she announced. 27 years old. Former soldier, now works as a forest ranger for the commune. Lives in the mountains, so it's a bit isolated. No local girls want to marry him because they don't want to live so far from their families. But he has a steady job, a small house, and he's willing to pay an 80 yuan bride price. 80 yuan. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. Let's continue. I saw Martha's eyes go wide. That was a significant sum, far more than she could have hoped for from a local match. And since she had never intended to pay for Jason's wedding in the first place, this was pure profit. 80 yuan, Martha repeated, trying to sound indifferent. Is that all? He also offered to provide 2 bolts of cloth for the bride's trousseau, Auntie Chen added, and a pound of brown sugar for the wedding feast. I'll take it, I said before Martha could negotiate herself out of the deal. Martha shot me a dirty look, but didn't contradict me. 80 yuan was 80 yuan. And a pound of brown sugar wasn't nothing. One more thing, I said to Auntie Chen. I'd like to keep the quilts I sewed for my dowry. They're old, but I made them myself. Martha opened her mouth to object, but Auntie Chen nodded firmly. Of course, of course. A bride should bring something to her new home. It's only proper, and just like that, my fate was sealed. I met William Song for the first time on the day of our wedding. The ceremony was even smaller than the one I had endured in my past life. Just the 2 of us, a few witnesses, and Auntie Chen officiating. No red banners this time. No big red wedding symbol pasted on the wall. Just a simple exchange of vows in the commune registration office. William was not what I expected. I had pictured a grizzled old hermit, someone rough and uneducated, maybe even a little dangerous. Instead, I found myself standing next to a tall, broad-shouldered man with kind brown eyes and a quiet, steady presence. His hands were calloused from hard work, but his grip was gentle when he took mine. His face was weathered from years in the mountains, but when he smiled, a rare occurrence, I would later learn, it transformed his entire appearance. "Emily," he said, his voice low and warm. "I know this isn't ideal. You're young and well, I'm not young. But I promise I'll take care of you. You won't go hungry. You won't be cold. And if you're unhappy, you can leave. I won't stop you." I stared at him, utterly speechless. In all my years with the Parker family, no one had ever spoken to me like that. No one had ever offered me a choice, or promised to take care of me without expecting something in return. Jason had seen me as a burden. Martha had seen me as a servant. But William Song looked at me like I was a person. A real person, with feelings and needs and the right to make her own decisions. "Thank you," I whispered. "I promise I'll work hard. I'll be a good wife." He shook his head. "Don't worry about being a good wife. Just worry about being happy. That's all I ask." That night, in the small cabin that sat at the edge of the forest, William made me a boiled egg for dinner. When I was a soldier, we had a saying. He told me, peeling the shell carefully. "A boiled egg a day keeps the doctor away. You're too thin, Emily. Your new mother-in-law didn't feed you properly." I didn't know how to respond. I couldn't remember the last time someone had cooked for me. I was always the one doing the cooking, the serving, the cleaning up afterward. "Eat," he said, pushing the plate toward me. "We'll start with this. Tomorrow, I'll show you where I find the wild angelica root. It's good for building up your strength." I picked up the egg with trembling fingers and took a small bite. It was the most delicious thing I had ever tasted. 3 months later, I received a letter from Martha. It was the first time she had ever written to me. In my past life, she had never bothered to learn my characters. But now, I supposed, she wanted something. "Emily," the letter read, "Jason came home for a visit. I told him about your marriage. He seemed surprised. I don't think he expected you to actually go through with it. He asked about you, where you were living, whether you were happy. I told him you were doing fine. No need to worry him with details. Speaking of which, I could use some help. With you gone, I have to do all the housework myself, and it's exhausting. The production team requires every household to cut pigweed, and my back can't take it anymore. Is there any chance your new husband could send some extra grain coupons? Just until I figure things out." I read the letter twice, then set it aside. In my past life, I would have dropped everything to help her. I would have felt guilty for leaving. I would have scraped together whatever I could and sent it to her with profuse apologies. But I was not the same Emily anymore. I had been reborn, and with that rebirth came clarity. Martha Parker had never loved me. She had never even liked me. I was a tool to her, a pair of hands to work, a womb to produce grandchildren, a servant to care for her and her son in their old age. The moment I ceased to be useful, she would discard me without a second thought. I wrote back a brief reply. "I'm sorry to hear you're struggling. Unfortunately, William and I don't have much to spare. Our first child is due in 6 months, and we need to save what we can. Perhaps Jason can help you with the pigweed when he comes home." I didn't mention the boiled eggs William made me every morning. I didn't mention the brown sugar he bought me to soothe my pregnancy cravings, or the way he rubbed my feet when they swelled, or the soft, worn blanket he had draped over me every night to keep me warm. Those things were mine, and I would not share them with someone who had never once offered me kindness. The next time I saw Martha Parker was 6 months later, 6 weeks after I had given birth to a healthy baby boy. The commune was crowded with people attending the monthly market fair. William had insisted on coming with me, even though I told him I was fine on my own. He carried our son in a cloth sling against his chest, his free hand resting protectively on my lower back as we navigated the crowds. "Emily," a familiar voice called out. "Is that you?" I turned to find Martha Parker sitting on a bench outside the commune office, a basket of supplies beside her. She looked old, much older than 6 months should have made her. Her face was gaunt, her hair more gray than black, and there were deep shadows under her eyes. "Ma'am," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "It's good to see you." Martha's gaze dropped to my belly, then to the baby in William's arms. Her eyes widened. You had a baby?" "Yes, ma'am. 6 weeks ago." A boy, she repeated, her voice hollow. "A grandson." I saw the longing in her eyes, the same longing that had made her take me in all those years ago. She had wanted grandchildren. She had wanted someone to carry on the Parker name. And now, seeing my son, a child who should, by her original plan, have been hers, she looked like she was watching her last hope slip away. "William and I were just going to buy some meat," I said, trying to fill the awkward silence. "We wanted to bring you some and share the good news." Martha nodded slowly. That's very kind of you, Emily." William stepped forward and handed me the baby. "Take him inside the restaurant," he said gently. "It's cold out here. I'll get the meat and join you shortly." He pressed a handful of ration coupons and some loose change into my palm, then disappeared into the crowd. Martha watched him go, her expression complicated. "He's good to you?" she asked, her voice low. "Your husband?" "Yes, ma'am." "Very good. He doesn't make you work too hard." I thought about my life in the mountains, waking up to the sound of birdsong instead of Martha's complaints, cooking meals that I got to eat myself instead of scraping burnt rice from the bottom of the pot, gathering herbs with William in the afternoon sunlight, laughing at his dry jokes, learning to read the forest like a book. "No, ma'am," I said. "He doesn't make me work at all. He says I should just focus on being happy." Martha's face crumpled. In that moment, I saw something in her that I had never noticed before, not in my first life, and not in the months since my rebirth. I saw a woman who had made terrible choices, yes, but also a woman who had been trapped by circumstances she couldn't control. A widow in a village that had no place for widows. A mother who had been so afraid of dying and leaving her son alone that she had tried to secure his future in the worst possible way. She had used me. She had exploited me. She had never loved me. But she was also human. And humans, I was learning, were capable of regret. If I had known, Martha started then stopped. If I had known Jason would turn out like this, would leave me alone, would throw away his military career for that scheming girl, I never would have. She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. I didn't ask her to complete it. I didn't need to. "Ma'am," I said quietly, "Jason made his own choices. You can't blame yourself for that. And you can't blame me either." Martha's eyes filled with tears. I know, Emily. I'm sorry. I should have treated you better. You deserved better." It wasn't an apology that erased the past. It wasn't an apology that could undo the years of servitude, the harsh words, the endless demands. But it was something. And for reasons I couldn't fully explain, I found myself accepting it. "Thank you, ma'am," I said. "That means a lot." We sat together in silence until William returned with the meat. Then we said our goodbyes, and I watched Martha Parker walk slowly back toward the village, her basket heavy on her arm, her shoulders hunched with burdens that were no longer mine to carry. 1 year later, I heard that Jason had been discharged from the army. The news came through Auntie Chen, who still served as the village's unofficial gossip network. According to her, Jason had been so focused on his relationship with Claire Mitchell that he had neglected his military duties. When Claire's parents fell from favor, Jason had tried to use his position to help them and had ended up implicated in their case. He wasn't arrested, but he was dishonorably discharged. No job, no prospects, nothing but his uniforms and a debt of several hundred yuan that he had borrowed from fellow soldiers to fund Claire's lifestyle. And Claire, she had dropped him the moment he stopped being useful. Auntie Chen had heard that she was now engaged to a senior officer's son, someone with real connections and real money. Good riddance, Martha had apparently said when she heard the news. But everyone knew she was devastated. Her son, her only child, had thrown away everything for a girl who had never loved him. I didn't feel satisfied when I heard the news. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt tired. Tired of the Parker family's drama, tired of their poor choices, tired of a past that had no power over me anymore. William must have sensed my mood, because that evening he came home with a handful of wildflowers, tiny purple blossoms that grew on the mountainside. For you, he said, tucking them behind my ear. To remind you that spring always comes again. I leaned into his chest, breathing in the scent of pine and fresh air and safety. Thank you, I whispered. For everything, he kissed the top of my head. No need to thank me, Emily. I'm the lucky one. The last time I saw Jason was at the Mid-Autumn Festival, 2 years after my son was born. William had come down from the mountain to buy mooncakes. Our son, now a chubby toddler with his father's kind eyes, rode on William's shoulders, giggling at the crowd. I walked beside them, my hand resting lightly on William's arm. We were standing in line at the department store when I heard a familiar voice, raised in anger. You promised me a sewing machine and a bicycle. Don't think you can fool me with these cheap trinkets from the store. I turned to see a young woman jabbing her finger at someone's chest. Her voice was shrill, her face red with indignation. And the man she was yelling at. Jason, I said, surprised. He looked up, and our eyes met across the crowded street. In that moment, I saw everything. I saw the boy I had raised, the teenager who had rejected me, the young soldier who had abandoned me. I saw the exhaustion in his face, the defeat in his posture, the desperate loneliness in his eyes. And I saw recognition. Emily, he breathed. The young woman, his fiancée, I assumed, stopped her tirade and looked between us. Who's this? She demanded. Is this another one of your old girlfriends? Jason flushed. She's nobody. Just someone I used to know. Nobody, I repeated, and I couldn't help the small smile that crossed my face. Yes, I suppose I am. William, ever perceptive, handed me our son and stepped forward. Jason Parker, he said, extending his hand. I'm William Song, Emily's husband. It's good to finally meet you. Jason stared at William's hand like it might bite him. Then slowly, he reached out and shook it. You're the forest ranger, Jason said. The one she married. That's right. For a long moment, no one spoke. The fiancé, whose name I never learned, looked between us with growing suspicion. The crowd flowed around us, oblivious to the small drama unfolding in the middle of the street. You look different, Jason said finally, directing the words at me. Good different. You look happy. I am happy, I said. My husband takes good care of me. Jason's gaze dropped to our son, who was staring at him with the unabashed curiosity of a young child. And this is your son. Our son, William confirmed, placing a protective hand on the toddler's back. His name is William, Jr. We call him Little Will. Little Will, Jason repeated, his voice hollow. That's a good name. The fiancée had had enough. She grabbed Jason's arm and yanked him away. Come on, she snapped. We're leaving. I don't know who these people are, but I don't like the way you're looking at that woman. Jason let himself be pulled away, but he kept his eyes on me until the crowd swallowed him whole. I watched him go, and I felt nothing. No, that's not quite right. I felt something, but it wasn't longing or regret or bitterness. It was the quiet satisfaction of closure, of a door finally, firmly shut. Ready to go home, William asked, taking my hand. I looked at him, this kind, patient, wonderful man who had given me everything I never knew I needed, and smiled. Let's go home. Epilogue. What became of Jason 5 years later? The first time I remembered my past life, I thought I was going crazy. I was working the night shift at the county psychiatric hospital, a job I had taken because no one else wanted it, because it was the only place that would hire a dishonorably discharged soldier with no connections and no future. The patients screamed in their cells. The orderlies drank cheap liquor in the break room and pretended not to hear. And then, without warning, the memories came flooding back. I remembered a different life, a different timeline, a different version of myself, one who had not been discharged, who had risen through the ranks to become a battalion commander, who had married Claire Mitchell and used his position to save her parents when they fell from grace. But that wasn't all I remembered. I remembered Emily. In that other life, Emily had not married anyone else. She had stayed in the Parker household, working herself to the bone for my mother, waiting for me to come back to her. And I had never come back. I had avoided her for 20 years, too cowardly to face the woman I had wronged, too blind to see that she was the only person who had ever truly loved me. And then Claire had grown afraid. Claire had seen the way my gaze lingered on letters from home, not from my mother, but from Emily. She had seen the guilt in my eyes, the unspoken regret. And because Claire was a woman who eliminated threats before they could grow, she had arranged for Emily to be committed to this very hospital. I remembered the rest. I remembered how the staff, bribed by Claire, had subjected Emily to inhuman abuse, forced her to drink toilet water, made her crawl on the ground like a dog, left her for 3 days without food, until she was so desperate that she tore open her filthy cotton blanket and stuffed the stuffing into her mouth just to stay alive. I remembered finding out too late. I remembered the cold iron-framed bed where Emily's body had lain, starved and broken and utterly alone. And I remembered that I had done nothing to stop it. I had been too weak, too afraid, too entangled in Claire's web to save the one person who had always saved me. I screamed. The patients screamed back. The orderlies rushed in, assuming I had been attacked. But the only attacker was the truth, and it was destroying me from the inside out. The next morning, I walked out of the hospital and went straight to the provincial government office. I had evidence, detailed, damning evidence of Claire's parents' corruption, of Claire's perjury, of the crimes that they had committed in their rise to power. In my past life, I had used these documents to save them. In this life, I would use them to destroy them. The investigation was swift. Claire's parents were arrested, tried, and sentenced to death. Claire herself was convicted of perjury and obstruction of justice. She would serve 3 years in prison, a fraction of what she deserved, but more than nothing. On the day of her sentencing, Claire looked at me with eyes full of hatred. "Why?" she screamed. "Why are you doing this to me? I loved you." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw nothing. No love. No regret. No humanity. "Look me in the eyes," I said quietly, "and tell me you remember Emily Parker." Claire's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said. But her voice shook. Her hands trembled. And I knew that she remembered too. I don't know how or why the two of us were given this second chance. I don't know what cosmic force decided to let us live our lives over again, with the memories of our past mistakes intact. But I know this: Emily did not deserve what happened to her. Not in the first life. Not in this one. And I will spend the rest of my existence making sure that Claire Mitchell, and anyone else who would harm the innocent, pays for their crimes. The guards led Claire away. The courtroom emptied, and I stood alone in the echoing chamber, staring at my reflection in the polished wood of the defendant's table. "Emily," I whispered. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." But the only answer was silence. Final epilogue. Emily, 10 years after the wedding that never happened, I sat on the porch of our mountain cabin, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Our son Will was 12 now, old enough to help his father with the herb gathering, young enough to still need his mother's goodnight kiss. Our daughter Lily was 7, a whirlwind of curls and laughter who reminded me so much of myself at that age that it sometimes made my heart ache. William came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. "You're quiet tonight," he said. "What are you thinking about?" I leaned back against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "I was thinking about Jason," I admitted. William tensed slightly. Jason Parker, he was sentenced last week. 3 years in prison for perjury and obstruction of justice. Apparently, he helped expose some corruption case involving that girl, Claire Mitchell, the one he used to be engaged to. William was quiet for a moment. "Do you feel sorry for him?" I thought about Jason, about the boy who had once bitten another child for pretending to be my groom, about the teenager who had looked at me with such cold disgust on our wedding night, about the man who had finally, too late, tried to make things right. "No," I said finally. "I don't feel sorry for him, but I don't hate him either. I hope he finds peace. Wherever he ends up." William kissed the top of my head. "You have a good heart, Emily. Too good for the likes of Jason Parker." "Maybe." I turned in his arms and looked up at his face, weathered and kind and familiar. "But I'm not the same person I was back then. I've grown. I've changed. I've learned." "Learned what?" I smiled. That love isn't about waiting for someone to choose you. It's about choosing yourself first, and then finding someone who chooses you back without conditions, without expectations, without regret. William's eyes crinkled at the corners, his version of a smile. And have you found that? I looked at our children playing in the yard, at the cabin we had built together, room by room, at the life we had created, not from obligation or convenience, but from genuine, hard-won love. Yes, I said. I have. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the world in shadow. But I wasn't afraid of the dark anymore. I had spent too long in the darkness of someone else's making. Now I had light, and I would never let it go. If you've enjoyed walking this journey of revenge and rebirth with Reborn English drama, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. Your support is the biggest motivation for me to keep creating and bringing more powerful stories to life. Every comment means a lot and helps the channel grow stronger each day. Thank you for listening, and I can't wait to see you in the next story.